Let's get into it. We live. Perfect. All right. We out here. All right. Let's get a little study mix going. Is this an ad? Doesn't count. All right. Cool. Good. That could be a little better. Sure. Good. Let's do it. How many ways can 32 apples be distributed among 6 children? Each child gets at least 1 apple. Okay. So that's our goal. What are we doing? How many ways can 32 apples be distributed among 6 children? So these are non-distinct, right? Non-distinct meaning non-distinct. Distinct means different. Non-different means they're the same, right? You're not gonna be able to tell the difference between each apple. So it's not 32 different apples where one has a different mark. One's green, one's blue. Be distributed among 6 children. Okay, so then this is our stars and bars, baby. So stars and bars method. So let's actually do this with a smaller number. Okay, so let's say 6. Can't draw 6. Let's say 6 blue stars. Okay. And I'm going to put them in 3 categories. Okay. The methodology here is actually I'm going to draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 as my 6 stars that I'm going to distribute. But then I'm actually going to draw 2 more. Okay, I'll tell you why in a second. Because what we're going to do is we're now going to take our 8 and we're going to choose 2 to be special. Okay, how are they going to be special? They're going to be grocery sticks. You ever heard this term? It's a term in hockey sometimes. A grocery stick is somebody that separates the two, something that separates the two, you know, on your what's that called? Conveyor belt, right? You have a little stick that separates the sort of two lines. So what we're going to do, that's going to be a bar, and we're going to separate these stars by selecting two of them. So let me select this one as a bar, and let me select this one as a bar. Okay. And now I have 3 different categories or groups with 2 selections. I separate into 3 groups. So this is actually 3 minus 1, 2 bars is what I need. Okay? And so that was why I added 2 in the first place. So now we have 6 total stars to actually distribute. Okay? So if I have done this with 6 from the start, then I only would have been left. I only would have been left. I only would have had 4 left because I had used up 2 of them, right? So let's not do that. Let's keep the 2 extra at the start so that we can choose 2 of them. They go away. They turn into this grocery stick that separates the 3 groups, right? It's a little bit weird that you only need 2 separators to say that this group has 2, this group has 1, this group has 3, right? So regardless, anyway, the math here is 8 choose 2. That was our math, right? So special, they're going to be special special stars that act as bars to separate stars. Okay? So special ones to act as stars to separate the true stars. Okay, sorry, they act as bars. Separate. I don't know why they call stars bars. It's just confusing. I just like to sort of think of these grocery stick separators and these stars make it a good way, but I like the different color method. Anyway. Okay, so let's now apply it to our 32 things that are the same. So this would have been hard to draw, but the math is going to be the same. So we're going to have 32 stars laid out times 32. We have 6 children, so that means we have 5 special stars, right? And so that, well, let's not say, that's 5 bars, so that's 37 total, and we have to choose 5 of them to be bars, to be these separators. Okay. Then, so first of all, let's get a number there. What do we get? 32 choose 5. Right. Alright. Okay, so that's a lot, but then they also say where each child gets at least 1 apple. So first, let me just kind of clean things up here a bit. Get you separated. Let me get you in a little shape here. There you go. Let me get my grocery stick out of here. And this doesn't look so bad. Okay. So, okay. So where each child gets at least 1 apple. Well, what that means is we don't really have 32 apples in the pot because we have to give each child an apple first. So let's just give each child an apple first, and then we will still just have 5 bars. So what is this? 26 stars. Right? So then 26, 31 choose 5, we'll still have to choose 5 of them. Right? So let's make that 31. Choose 5, and we get 169 and 11. Okay. Sexy and dangerous number. How many ways can 10 identical pens be distributed among 4 students? Well, now we have the same sort of thing. Identical, you know, that's sort of the same, right? 10 of the same among 4 students, 10 of the same distributed? That's the same sort of problem here, right? Apples distributed. So this language is consistent, right? And it's important to see. So 10 identical pens. Okay. This includes the possibility that some do not get any pens at all. Okay. Well, this isn't so bad now, right? So stars and bars, baby. Let's go. So we got 10 stars, 10 things to distribute. But then we have 4 students. Okay, so if I have, you know, a bunch of things, how many bars do I need to put this into 4 groups? Well, let's just put 1. Okay, that's 2 groups. That's 3 groups. And now that's 4 groups. How many bars did I put down? I put down 3. So there only needs to be 1 less than the group number. So there's 4 groups, so I need 3 bars. 5 groups, I need 4 bars. 28 groups, I need 27 bars. Okay. And so we have 13 total things now. So what we do is we sort of like make a tapestry of 13 of these stars. Whoa, I'm starting to lose it. 3, 4, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And then we pick some of them to not actually be, so maybe it's better to say like things. Okay, so let's do that in blue, let's do that in purple. Okay, and now there are 13 things, and 3 of them I'm going to select to be maybe those 2 are both purple, and then that one's purple, and I picked 3 of them to be purple, right? You might say, well, wait a second, you only have 3 groups. No, I still have 4 groups. How many groups do I have? How many groups do I have? What are the groups? This one has 4. So 4 go there, 4 of the things go there. We're supposed to take what's between 2 stars like we do here. This one has 2, this one on the other end has 4. Well, what's there that's 0? That means somebody didn't get a pen. And now we still add to 10, right? Because we made the purple ones, they aren't actually the things that we're distributing. So that's why we add them, because we're about to take them away by sort of making them purple, making them separators instead of making them actual pens. Okay. So the math there is that we have 13 things and we have to choose 3 of them to be special. And that is you might see it like this, 13 choose 3, but it's 13 factorial over 13 minus 3 factorial, put a little bracket there, or 13 times 12 times 10, times, sorry, 11. Okay, which is what? Yeah. You with me? Okay, so let's just address this sort of extra thing that they say. This includes the possibility that some students do not get a single pen. Did we care about which stars we picked? That's an important question. Did we care about which stars we picked? Keep them moving. Keep them moving. Alright, just checking the stream health here. Nice. Okay. Okay. Just keep you moving. Okay. In how many ways can 24 students be assigned to 5 faculty advisors if each student is connected with exactly 1 advisor? Some advisors may end up with no students. Leave your answer in exponential form. Oh, they gave us a trick and they didn't even close their bracket. Come on, disrespectful. All right. So, this might look a lot like these last ones. How many ways can 10 pens be distributed among 4 students? How many ways can 24 students be assigned, distributed to 5 faculty advisors? Right. What was one of the first things that I highlighted in one of these ones? Something that I underlined even, bro. It's that the 10 identical pens, they are the same. Are these the same thing? Same students? They're not the same students. They're not the same students. They are not the same students. So we won't be able to, approach it the same way. Okay? They also say that each student is connected with exactly 1 advisor. Okay. So, with these questions, it's often important to, how can we say this? It's often important to see it from both perspectives. So if you were a student versus if you were a faculty advisor, okay? In this last example, it might be good to think of it as if you were the pen or if you were the 4 students, okay? So for us, we didn't really approach it that way. We kind of took ourselves out of it, but from, we could say this is from a certain perspective in a way. We could sort of argue that once we get to this, and it'll be a little easier because we have people here. 24 students be assigned to 5 faculty members. So from the student's perspective, what do we see? We have 5 choices to make, right? And then we have 24 students, right? Do you agree? Okay, so that's from the student's perspective, right? Okay, from the advisor's perspective. Do the advisors get to make choices? I mean, in a way they do. It's kind of like, there are 5 of them, right? So, what's the story here? We sort of say each advisor picks some number where they all sum to 25. Right? Is that maybe the best way to describe that? I mean, it's kind of shit, right? Like, there's not really a great amount of math in the advisor's perspective. So some people might kind of get caught and say, ah, this is a stars and bars. It is not a stars and bars because we have 24 different students. So we have to be careful here about saying that the middle, you know, having the n2, like this group here will only ever be made up of these 5 students, right? Or 6 students or whatever. They'll always be made up of the ones on the end. These 2 will always be made up of like ones in the middle, you know? It might sometimes include that one, it might sometimes include a couple over here, but it's rarely going to include that one or that one, right? Well, that's not fair then. That means that that student doesn't have a chance with this advisor, right? Like, so, or, you know, obviously the purple's not an advisor, the space between them is an advisor. So this one doesn't often have a chance of coming over here. In this world, we kind of put them in an order, right? So it's not really fair. And the reason we're allowed to do that is because they are the same, bruh. Okay, so each student has 5 choices to make. And there are 24 students to make that choice. That is something that I think my math can handle. So each student has 5 choices to make. So let's say 5. And then the next student's choice, is it independent? Meaning, if the first student chooses an advisor, does it affect the second student's choice? Does the second student say, oh, you know, with this person came before me, they chose that person. So maybe mentally, you know, maybe socially, but in terms of ability, do they still have the possibility of picking every advisor? Yes, right? There's no maximum for each advisor. One of them could have all 25 of them, right? Lucky. But regardless, each one of them is just going to have 5 choices, and there's going to be 24 of them, so it will be 5 to the power of 24. It's a little simpler than it looks, and there's also a strong hint in this question. Answer in exponential form. Okay. Okay. So let's try a few more here. Just give me a second. Let me pull some up. Let's do it. Okay, so don't look at that. Don't look at that. Don't look at that. Okay. Ceres is a dwarf planet located in the asteroid belt between the orbits of Mars and Jupiter. The radius of Ceres is 4.76. Okay, I'm just gonna kind of write this down here because I know this is probably gonna be important, and I just want to check its units, interrogate it a little bit. Okay, you're meters. Suppose an astronaut stands on the surface of Ceres. Okay, so I'm starting to get a little description, a drawing here. And this person's got a spacesuit on, obviously. Some new futuristic ones. It just looks like a bubble. Okay, got it. And drops a 0.85 kilogram hammer from a height of 1.5 meters. Okay, so maybe we can even... Alright, we can do this. and say, I mean, that's not fair. That's they're on the surface, right? It's flat. Oh, good. Oh, okay. So that height is 1.25 meters that they drop our hammer. It's a little fatter than I was hoping. Kind of looks like nothing. It looks like a mic or something. Okay. Maybe let's take that last little circle out of there. There we go. Not so bad. Okay. Sure. The hammer takes 3 seconds to reach the ground. Okay, so some sort of like delta T of, you know, from 1 to 2, let's maybe say. Delta T of 1 to 2. Delta T is what? 3.0 seconds. Okay, sure. So, A. So the radius of the planet. Why is that relevant to this question? Is the radius of the planet I'm on relevant to this question? What is going on?
Poisonous, emerald, earthly, chemical eating, fight your voters ass beating. Horrible armor with the armor, satin armor with the vicious army dama, because the dragon was my father, and born in liquid lava from the center of my barber, rhyming banks in my pajama, selling soups and sour dama, explosives and rope, eat vision like red roses. I hold this gallantry for maximum salary, galactic, romantic, auto-omatic,
gotta be.
Stack it, keep it in racket, fold it, seize it, control it, lift when I blast it, blow when I explode it, slowly.
Okay.
Chapter 3, Dragonfly. Supernatural with actual thoughts of persecution. White owl, smell of the earth with smoke.
Determine the gravitational field strength. Series at this height.
What they hear. Who's defined to the ear than appear and beg a gear. A legendary fighter, golden tassels on a spear. Universally, I'm seen and heard in every state, continents and hemisphere. Beggarism is my fate when in need. I choose to take hold fast, I never wait. Cause being on time where I'm from is too late. Desire is too great to wait. I never fake, cut from bottles of mo. Every pocket that got shape, be wise. Don't hesitate, illustrate your beggar skill, whether it's or for poor. I never struggle for a meal for real. I never die, emotions never distill. I bounty hunter, blade runner, motion picture like Steven Seagal. With my hands in mood drop. Tide is the image shown on the great side. A rabbi out to get much rid of high. Supernatural magic in the sack of that green pack. Buddha Jack keeps you smack on a deadly ninja track. See that feedback, see that abstract cognac dose.
Alright.
Other swordsmen and all the crew.
Alright, just have to adjust the old lay there.
Now all men are brothers in the mountain taking cover. Again for a nugget and a brother for a brother. Now Emperor, let's go and get these niggas and injure any pretender black avenger. I'm in the zone, I mean in the throne. We made the devil run all the way home. 2,200 miles and high with ways to die. Ways to die.
Okay, determine the gravitational field strength of series at this height. Okay, so they say at this height. Are they talking about the height at 1 or the height at 2 or what? Well, really, they're kind of just talking about the height of the planet. Like, this here is nothing on the scale of, you know, like, this is the planet. We don't even see this 1.5, 1.25, right? In fact, we're not going to use significant digits that are going to be relevant to that size, right? Because look, significant digits of this is 4 10 to the 5. So this is, let me move the decimal place 5 spots. That's what that means, right? So 5, 6 change to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right. So I'm not going to notice the 1.5 here, or 1.25. So let's just keep that number, and let's use our gravitational field strength. Well, you know, our Fg is where the force of gravity comes from, and it affects a mass, right? And it comes from a G value. Well, that G value is something that comes from this here. And so in some sense, what they're asking is for this G value, and that G value, if you take the M out, if that M and that M are the same, then G is this here. So let's just look at G capital M R squared. Do they tell us what M is? Capital M. Do they tell us what capital M is? What is capital M? Capital M is the other mass involved in this force of gravity. So force of gravity is between this object, right, and the planet. So M is the mass of the planet. Do we have the mass of the planet? We do not have the mass of the planet. Do not have the mass of the planet. So what do we do? Well, we're told about some motion, right? Just like G shows up in our, you know, our 5 equations, right? A lot when we're dropping things. Well, this planet's G value might show up in that world as well. So we kind of have enough to start to go there, okay? And look, we are actually told the mass of the hammer, so that maybe we can kind of like go back to this, and then we don't need M. Okay, so okay, so let's do it. Let's move this down. Let's move those down. Okay. So so let's just start to sort of like figure out what we have here. We have delta t of that journey. It's 3 seconds. We have delta d of that journey. What do we want to make it? We want to make it positive or negative? What would your instinct be? If you're out there, think about it. Positive or negative? It is going to be 1.25. The difference in displacement. But question is kind of, where do you put your h equals 0? Okay. It actually doesn't for delta d. But the real question is, up or down? Okay. So if I choose up to be positive, then the delta d here was down, so it was negative. Okay? So actually, I'm going to make my life easy. You might find it hard the way I make my life easy, but I'm going to do it. So I'm going to make down positive because everything's kind of happening down here, right? And in fact, my G value is going to kind of be bringing me down too, bringing me down. So let's make it positive, bringing me down. All right, so delta T, delta D, we have our 5 other equations. So V1, V2, and then A. And A here is just going to be the gravity of this planet series, not our planet Earth, right? We call G, we don't even put the sub E, but what we mean is Earth's G value is 9.81. Maybe you've heard this number before, okay? So we're going to figure out kind of what this planet's value is for G, okay? Which means we need to solve for A. We have to solve for A, okay? So we have 2 others. We need 3 to solve for 4. Need 3 to solve for the 4th. So is there something else that I'm told about this journey from 1 to 2? From 1 to 2. Something else that I'm told from 1 to 2. Either the V1 or the V2. Which one do I know? Now, you should never, and we can't ever say that that it's fair to say, oh, we dropped the object V2 at the bottom at the ground. When you drop it, once you drop something, it stops moving. That is nails on a chalkboard, okay? The difference, the thing that happens at the ground is not the planet pulling with gravity. That's it crashing to the ground and the force of the ground and the normal force, and there's different accelerations there. That's not fair. What you're doing is cheating. So we have to talk about uniform acceleration, uniform motion, which means the same acceleration over the entire period. That's when these 5 equations will matter. So remember our 5 equations, and we need 3 to solve for the 4th. We don't know V2. We don't know what speed it hits the ground at, but we do know that we drop it, which means 0 meters per second. Do we drop it? Let's just check. Yes, drop. The word drop makes an appearance. Boom. So let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it. Okay, so what are we doing? We got to do the equation that doesn't have V2 in it because I don't know it. I don't care it. All right. So let's do, what are we doing? 1.25. This is delta D is equal to V1 delta T plus 1 half. Delta T squared. Delta D, V1 is 0, so I don't care what this is because that's going to be 0. And then 1 half G on the planet, delta T squared. And delta T is 3 seconds. So not so bad, right? Okay. So just rearrange for GC. 9 over 2, so this becomes 2 over 9. So 1.25 times 2 over 9. And what do we get? 0.27777. And the unit, GC, the unit, it's an acceleration, so it should be meters per second. No, meters per second squared. Beautiful. Okay. So, I have a question. Does this number make sense? Our G on our planet, planet Earth, is 9.81. We just said. So how does that number compare? You always wanted, in physics, you can almost always make sense of an answer. So you dropped this thing 1.25 meters. That's like, you know, from waist high or a little bit higher or something, right? Like just holding it out in front of you. How long does it take for something to fall to hit the ground when you drop something from that height? Like, let's check. Here we go. Okay, so that was, let's say, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so little less than a second. Little less than a second. right? Maybe even more or less than a second. Yeah, let's say like, you know, not even half a second, right? Okay, so that's with a G of 9.81. This thing takes 3 seconds to fall, right? So, pretty slow, right? Pretty slow. I'm gonna... I want to double check this. Yeah, I think I'm okay with this. Right. Okay. So there it is. There's our G value. Calculate the mass of series. Okay, so now this is where we'll go to this question and say, okay, so I had the mass of the hammer that was experiencing this G value. So then I can tell you the force that it was experiencing. And then I can use the other equation for force and solve for M. Right? Or I could use G is equal to this. So let's even just do that. So let's say GC is equal to G capital M. We said this, the mass of series over R series squared. And we have now all of them. So this is a constant, right? Gravitational constant. This is 0.2777 repeating meters per second squared. Actually, let's not include units because everything is standard units. So we're good, right? Okay. So then G, MC is what we're solving for, over, and now this is where we're going to use the radius that we wrote down at the start. That's already in meters, so we're good, and we have to square it. So now let's just rearrange for MC, and our G value is 8.99 times 10 to the negative 11. Is that right? Gravitational. Yeah. Oh, wait. 6.67. Yeah. Right. Oh, I'm thinking of the K constant. Sorry. Okay, so, okay, so let's do it. So 0.277 repeating. Also times this 4.76 times 10 to the log power 2 divided by the G value, which is 6.67 times 10 to the negative 11. Right. Okay. So then, let's get it.
They don't want to pay you, get a visit deep into the red zone with the mad Buddha heads roam through the desert that you call hell, but third eyes home. So keep your eyes on the prize and come and take a toke of the lyrical smoke and feel the natural high.
So, what are we gonna say? 9.4 kilograms? Is that it? Alright. That makes sense. Does that make sense? Sense? 9 kilograms a planet? Something is up here. Something is up. Something is up. Right? So, let's just double check here. Oh, yeah. Okay. So, sorry, 941 times 10 to the 20, I believe. 20. Okay, let me just do it again. 277 by 6.67 6 squared times when you decide to step in the zone, you're best to be prepared to hold your own. Zone 7 and 10 divide 10. Yeah. Good. Somehow I got. Oh, I got it. I did something longer than 2.7. Okay. Good. Which makes sense, right? Come on, give me some tons. Give me tons, bro. Right? Okay. Not so bad. Calculate the gravitational field strength this year is at an altitude of 150 kilometers above its surface. So all we would do here is now just take the same equation and give me GC equals G, and now I have 9.44. It's 10 to the 20. And my R is going to be 4.76 times 10 to the 5. Plus 150 kilometers. Well, let's turn that into meters. And then we can square it. All right. So 6.67 times 10 to the negative 11 times 9.44 is 20. I and remember when we are adding 2 with the same 10 power, then we can just add those 2, factor out the 10 to the 5 basically. Okay. So we get basically 1. Right. Does that make sense? Something's up. Square that last one. There we go. That makes sense. Okay, so 0.25. Right? Why? What was wrong with that? How did I know? 2.6, let's say. How did I know? So it's only like a little bit smaller than the old G, right? So those are my kind of 2 answers here. So how did I know something was up? It was 1 meter per second squared. How could the gravitational force gotten up when I move away from the planet? My gravitational force, when I move away from things, my gravitational force goes down. Right? Not okay. Okay. Let's do it. Let's keep moving. Okay, so let's take these, just put this down for now. Boom. Boom. So. Let's do it. Determine if the following bonds are pure polar, non-polar covalent, or ionic. Okay. So we're taking a little bit of a shift here. A little bit of shift. That's the story.
NBA, keep their eye on you and spill blood on the black soil. It's only 4 words. I'll die for you. I'll kill for you. If the niggas bust 2, I'm taking 1 for you. Stay loyal. NBA, keep their eye on you and spill blood on the black soil. It's only 4 words. I'll die for you. I'll kill for you. If the niggas bust 2, I'm taking 1 for you. Stay loyal. NBA, keep their eye on you and spill blood on the black soil. It's only 4 words. I'll die for you. I'll kill for you. If the niggas bust 2, I'm taking 1 for you. Stay loyal. NBA, keep their eye on you and spill blood on the black soil.
You must not know my stilo. Got more head crack than CeeLo. Trying to move this kilo and look out for my P.O. I don't dazzle, I dismember. Body parts like timber. I never say die nor surrender. Now who amongst you wants to come test the guard? I'm sharp, hard. I blow up like a TNT charge, so test me. I can squeeze water out of brick or kick some shit that'll make your eardrum split. I wreck rhymes forever, lose a lyric in my leather, unleash lightning quick, or something death blows together. Testing, is he living? Beat him with the rhythm, strip him clean like Robin Givens. Don't test me.
We're gonna need this. Okay, we'll take a little break after this. This one. I don't know what this would be. Right. Let's do it. So, determine if the following bonds are pure polar, nonpolar covalent, or ion. Why do we have electronegativity here? What is electronegativity? Electronegativity. Electronegativity.
Everybody crossed you, said nothing when they lost you. Couldn't tell you shit, so death is what it cost you. How dare you fuck with me? I guess you'll always love me like Whitney. Dig the in the step, can't forget me.
Alright. Electronegativity. So, electronegativity is a quality, it's a number, but it doesn't really mean anything. When I say magnesium is 1.2, I don't mean that magnesium has 1.2 of something. I just mean that its quality is 1.2 on a scale. So let's just see where the scale is. Where's the lowest number you see? There's the lowest number you see. There's the lowest number you see. It's francium, bottom left, right? 0.7. Okay, and then our highest is francium, so that's our periodic trend. So in general, that's how it's going to look, is as you go up, it's going to increase, and as you go to the right, it's going to increase, right? And that's kind of true, right? So look, like across this, it goes up, right? Across this, it goes up. Across this, it goes up. And up, as we go up, it's also going up, right? So, okay, in general, it's true. What is it? It's a quality of how strongly that atom is pulling, how strongly that atom really, really wants electrons, okay? And so, in the scale of bullying, that is from 0 to 4, francium is the biggest bully out of 4. Sorry, not francium. Fluorine. Francium is getting bullied, okay? In general, this is your bully score. If you are in a bond with another atom, and your bully score is a lot higher, then you can take the electron. If it's about even, then you can kind of share it. If it's relatively even but still one's winning, then you might do some uneven sharing. Okay, hopefully this language kind of is sounding familiar. And if you have the exact same pull strength in the tug of war for your electron that's in the bonding electron pair, if you are doing a tug of war between two atoms, which is really what a bond is. Tug of war of electrons. Well, if you're both pulling with the same strength, and this is your strength score, you're both pulling with the same strength, so who could pull with the same strength? Maybe gallium and vanadium, right? They both have a 1.6. They wouldn't really be together, so let's not use that example. Let's maybe say like beryllium and carbon, okay? Or you know, more often it's kind of like easier to take the ones from bottom right, right? So like iodine and carbon, okay? They have the same pull strength, then they're going to have a pure sharing bond. Okay? So hopefully you understood some of that language, some of those winks, okay? Because pure covalent is like perfect 50-50 sharing. Polar, covalent. Wait, sorry. This is backwards. I knew there was something wrong here. So I don't know who wrote this. I don't recognize the writing, but something's wrong here. So pure non-polar, polar, covalent. So those are two types of covalent, right? Or ionic. Okay, so perfect 50-50 sharing is pure non-polar. Non-polar means no poles, no two different ends, right? No winner loser. Those are the poles in this world. Polar means uneven sharing. That's all that means. So you can tell who's winning, who's losing. Poles, you can tell who's the North Pole, who's the South Pole, who's the winning pole, who's the losing pole. Okay? And covalent means sharing. So perfect, pure non-polar. Then there's just non-polar itself. Okay? And then but pure is a type of non-polar. Non-polar is kind of like within a certain limit. So for example, carbon and hydrogen are close enough that there's no real difference. Okay? But carbon and oxygen, they are different enough that we will be able to tell that one of them is winning. Who's going to be winning? It's gotta be oxygen. Okay? Because its bully score is higher, right? And in fact, how much it wins the tug of war is proportional to how much it's winning by. So what we actually will do is put these things on a scale of their difference. So we're going to calculate the difference in electronegativity. So let's say, for example, it was carbon and oxygen, right? So it's carbon's electronegativity minus oxygen's electronegativity, or vice versa, right? So let's do the bigger one minus the smaller one, actually. So that was bam. Let's do it bigger minus smaller to see what the difference between them is. Okay. It's going to be 3.5 minus 2.5. So the difference between them is 1. Right. What we're going to do is we're going to put that on the scale because, you know, for example, chlorine and a chlorine. What's the difference in electronegativity here? It's the electronegativity of one atom, so the chlorine, minus the electronegativity of the other atom, so the chlorine. Well, wait a second. They have the same value because they're the same atom. So this is an example of a pure covalent. Okay? Pure covalent has a difference. No difference. So that's pure covalent, pure sharing, pure 50-50 sharing. Okay? This is a type of nonpolar because nonpolar is basically even, and this is like perfectly even. Right? So the nonpolar category is actually between 0 and so let's maybe just say this, between 0 and 0.5, okay? And it's less than both of them, okay? And this is our non-polar covalent, okay? So basically even sharing, right? Okay. So no difference, so perfect sharing. Okay. Basically even sharing. So it's kind of like, you know, pretty close. Okay. Okay. So then on our scale from 0.5, and that includes 0.5 all the way up to about 1, I think the number is 1.7. This is polar, so uneven. So it's still sharing, okay? But it's uneven sharing. There's one clear winner, okay? So that's polar covalent. And then covalent, I'm a terrible speller. Okay. And then anything bigger is our so big. It's such a big difference between in the tug of war that there's a clear winner, that there's a give and a take. Okay? Give and a take. There's no sharing. So this is ionic. Okay? So we're going to kind of like put this on a scale. It is the difference between them, right? So between 0 and 0.5, and then 1.7 and beyond, right? So these here, the ones that are perfectly 0, and then these here are our different categories. So that's ionic, that's polar covalent. This is non-polar covalent, and this is equal to 0 is pure covalent. Right? So we're in. Okay, so that is basically going to be our kind of like graph that we'll compare this against. Okay, so sorry. The difference in so that's something that we call that we've been using. Okay. Just make this nice and pretty.
Just wanna know the answer. Started doing dirt to help moms with money when pops had cancer. That's the beginning. Stealing was surviving, not sinning. Blowing cash, growing fast. Left no time for grinning. Never ending. More static at the crib site. Parents had problems with neighbors, so now me and the kids fight. So
let's see where these fall. Okay, so Cl2 is here. It's perfectly covalent. The difference between them is 0. Anything with the same atom is the same. The other ones we just have to go through it. So H2O, that's an H and an O, that's 2.1, that's 3.5. So that's a difference of 1.4. So 1.4 is our H to our O. H to the is O, right? Okay.
Keep someone lovely, slim, pretty to hug me, sipping on bubbly, middle finger for those quickly to judge me, not knowing. Thrown in the slums, K forced to grow in. Refuse to be them kids on the corner.
Okay, and now C double bond O. So C double bond O. C double bond O. That's C and O. We already saw that. That's 1. Okay? Instead of value of 1.0. It doesn't really matter that it's a double bond. Right? Na and I. So Na is 0.9 and I is 2.5. Which means we're at 1.6, so we're right at the barrier. So you'd probably say this had a little bit of ionic character, okay, just because it's close, right? But I think we're actually below. So, wait, let me just make sure that number there. I think it's 1.7, but I would hate to. I think there's also like a discrepancy. Yeah, I like less than 2, 1.8, yeah. So then NH3. N is 3, H is 2.1, and there's just 3 of them, it doesn't matter, so it's 0.9. So they're, are you kidding me? They're all just polar? The other ones? Okay, come on, please give me some other ones. Who wrote this? Josh. That's kind of where they fall. So they're all polar covalent bonds, which means they're all sharing covalent. They have their valence shells together, covalent. Polar means I can tell one pole from the other. I can tell a winner from a loser in their pulling. Pulling, okay? So there's tug of war and I can tell who's winning. This tug of war, I cannot tell who's winning between the two CLs. It's impossible, they're the same. Non-polar covalent is like, I can't really tell, it's too close a match, too close to call, right? Whereas these, it's like, okay, I can tell who's winning. This one is like, okay, somebody's won, right? The pull, the tug of war for the electron. So somebody has the electron, somebody's lost an electron. That's what it means to be ionic. Okay. Okay. Long roundabout way to get to our answer there, but okay. So I'm maybe just gonna leave this one here, and you can maybe think about how you would tackle this one. I will be back.
You know what I'm saying? Niggas always talking about where they from. Niggas talking all this bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Faking bad jacks. Where it's coming from. Niggas talking mad shit, but they ain't really saying nothing. Marcy, check it. Y'all people love to name the streets where you live at, but I say fuck that. Put a gat to your baseball cap. Massive bodies, date girl say look at Jack. Then say yeah when that dippy boy body bled. Agony, cosmic twist light up quickly. Feel my energy, the elements inside me. A natural mission, scientists be less suspicious. So who is this? What is this type of shit? I be cancer to your MCs and backup dancers. G got the rope, but dope cut, this your answer. To whoever, whatever, whenever the G step up, you better catch a glimpse of window PBs, the letter. MRC PJs, beats on window hallways, my keys on elevator walls. I'm nice DJs. Better respect what you haven't seen yet. Your whole quartet will be left burnt but frigid. When I swoop down and scoop the guys I hang around, you're bound to see the Browns roaming town. They waiting for the okay to bring your ass back to BK. Fuck what he say, it's what the trees say. Brooklyn, how I'm looking, got her shookin'. Put a gat to your girl's face and gets her ass bookin'. Out of sight, out of my mind, but your ass is left behind. They intertwine your mind with my nine. A flat line, no beat, let the mortal sleep. I got a funny appetite, eat some human meat. But I fry grease to make beef-style a quiche. No matter what you teach, you catch a tech for the reach. So B.O.D. hold them off. One boy, them soft. It's me from the nation of the lost. I'm still drinking brew, I'm still puffing lie. It's best die, and do or die till I die. Why, oh, why your bumbots wanna see the COC, the widow P stressy. The streets is rough where we live at, so we say fuck that. Best style until we die. Why, oh, why your bumbots wanna see the COC, the widow P stressy. The streets is rough where we live at, so we say fuck that. Best style until we die. I bet you wanna swarm around me looking for the chit chat, but I say fuck that. Cause you know where I live at. It's grimy, so when cops ride by me, they eye me. And 2 shots ring out, and all the thugs admire me. The project rule don't let no food change your menu. I barbecue you, I use your bones as utensils. In my dungeon, my acid will plunge in your mortal skin. I got my guns on all white men. The car slashing me in the milk will tap your canister. I bet you couldn't manage to escape from me flipping the banister. You catch asthma when my chemical seeps in your mental. You need R2D2 to pull your monkey ass through. It's being son, we just begun, y'all niggas better know, bitches better run. Why your bumbots wanna see COC, Widow P, Marcy. The streets is rough, better run. So we say fuck that, best stop until we die. Why your bumbots wanna see the COC, the Widow P, Marcy. The streets is rough, where we live at, so we say fuck that, best stop until we die. Yeah. Valerio in the house. Another house jam, bitch. No shout outs go to the Marcy. B.O.D. Widow P. Alienation. Alright. And I'ma see brothers in the arena. They know what I'm talking about. We got the fat mix at night. Big dude, but bitches, y'all wanna fight. Y'all better lay back and chill before I get real. And send son with the steel. Y'all better back up, yo son, you hold me down. I'm gonna snuff this nigga down, he's just a fucking clown. Why you step up on our project with y'all nigga nights? We got the charm to keep your heads right. That's how we live. And what we give is mad headaches.
The lesson of today, you have to listen to each and every single word I have to say because I reign. The lesson of today, you have to listen to each and every single word I have to say because I reign. The lesson of today, you have to listen to each and every single word I have to say because I reign. The lesson of today, you have to listen to each and every single word I have to say because I reign. The lesson of today, you have to listen to each and every single word I have to say because I reign. The lesson of today, you have to listen to each and every single word I have to say.
Well, it's the hustler, yes, y'all know apostrophe. My philosophy ain't nobody stopping me. Mercy me, nobody's worse than me. When I'm through, ooh, you'll probably be cursing me. You should be worried, and some say I'm scary. And it's true, I got you open like a cesarean. You make it tragic, reaction's automatic. I'll let you have it, get in your ass like a faggot. Deliver like mail, never frail or stale. Got you under pressure like a weightlifter in jail. You thought I lost it? Hell no, get off it. It's my time, my rhymes, they run like Pharaoh's bullshit. Punchlines, metaphors, just for you, chief. I hope you really mean it, I got more lines than loose sleep. Now bring it to me, cause I'm waiting for that. Be exact so I can show you where I'm at like a map. Yo, black, I'm really serious, or maybe just curious. Wait a minute, I think I'm delirious. Get it on, careers are going down the drain. Insane, the pain will make you say God's name in vain. It gets deep, stay awake while I creep. Cause a 16 shots will put you all over the street. So yo, Ran Reed, my brother, my fam. Attack a black mic like the Ku Klux Klan.
Ran Reed representing from the NJ, peace to the NY. Fuck with this and die. Mentally, kid, I be lynching with the ill comprehension. Brain cells, I be pinching. Whacking C's with no skills that need to brush up. I make them hush up when they rush up to attempt to battle me, kid. It's sorta like it, cause I aim for your brains and attack your grill. Punching niggas in their mouth with my verbal abuse. Once I let loose, niggas call for a truce. In too deep when you fuck around with this. Making hits up with my crew, yo, I'm down with this. Niggas get pissed, cause they know who keeps the funk. I supply more flavor for the deeps to pump. Representing with my man Nick Wiz. Can't forget Lord AGB on my side, what it is. I get soup like my man SNS on the mixtape. One bustin' rhymes like a grape. It's so easy to make a whack nigga get queasy. When I rap, it becomes breezy. Kinda chilly, fucking with me is kinda silly. I have your ass begging like Billy. Fucking with Rand don't pay. I'm I'ma teach you not to play. That's the lesson for the day. Cause
I read the lesson of today. You have to listen to each and every single word I have to say because I read the lesson of today. You have to listen to each and every single word I have to say because I read the lesson of today. You have to listen to each and every
I ain't shitting you. You and your crew will get done, cut up in chunks when I put out hits like blunt system man. Cause not everybody can bring the war like a brand. I mean a rat, now bring it back. I usually rhyme over gun claps, but I'ma keep it real and raw for them niggas in the back. Screw the slick talker linked up with the water walker for fool. True in the IBU, so what it is if you wanna get biz for real, you better chill. I'm in it for the cess, nothing more, nothing less. Drunk spark the hell and niggas belling, ain't no telling. I leave this whole earth swelling.
It ain't going down like this.
Drunk God in the spot, niggas slitting their wrists. Nigga,
It ain't going down like this.
The you the in, come to do your in with the ill shit.
It ain't going down like this.
I love to say, don't you ever forget.
It ain't going down like this.
Lyrical madman, drunk man, I tell ya, I'm ready. With switchblades, butcher knives, machetes, I slay 'em all. From Miami to Cali, coast to coast, back to the Delaware Valley, they strike again. Facts start trembling, Slim Kitten Timberlands, ready and willing to go out for this rap shit. My click and all, jagged edge, ill niggas never fall. Drunk and trash, they tight like virgin ass. I stash the boom in the room with the hash. We does 'em in, fists collide with the chin. Watch her spinning over hollow points get in. My day's early, so I worry about my woman and my future. 95 any kick and shoot ya. I keep it real, I know the deal from the fiction. My weed addiction keeps me mellow far from friction. Master my flow to get the dough, that's all I know. Tracks and raps to hold my own, don't let me flow.
It ain't going down like this.
drunk God in the spot, niggas slitting their wrists.
Nigga, it ain't going down like this.
The you the in, come to do your in with the ill shit.
It ain't going down like this.
I love to say, don't you ever forget.
It ain't going down like this.
Scott Larkins, the reason for the treason. I believe that I believe it. Why perceive it? What you need it, how you need it, while I breathe it. Dedicated, stop being indicated. Well worth remembering, like who the kid day. Extent, I'm talking sensation straight to your membrane. Travel by sideways, not to be confused with that old bullshit you be hearing. I'm engineering it, you steering in the right direction while I be flexing on the next end. Year after, and the next chapter. It ain't going down like this. Got locks on the mic, don't you ever forget. Come on.
It ain't going down like this.
Drunk God in the spot, niggas slitting their wrists.
It ain't going down like this.
The you the in, come to do your in with the ill shit.
It ain't going down like this.
Got love to say, don't you ever forget.
It ain't going down like this.
It ain't going down like this. It ain't going down like this. I love to say, drunk God in the spot. So real. It ain't going down like this.
We on some smooth shit, yeah, some old smooth shit.
Sit back and relax, spark a L or crack a brew.
To this smooth shit, some good old smooth shit.
You know how we do.
You know how we do. We on some smooth shit, yeah, some old smooth shit.
Just sit back and relax, spark a L or crack a brew.
To this smooth shit, yeah, some old smooth shit.
Yeah, you know how we do.
Yeah, you know, My style, I got homes and townhouses.
Relaxation.
Vacations, Rolex with
Yo,
studded faces.
I'm straight relaxing.
600.
With chrome sketch attractions, bitches with cream jeans and G-strings left in my mansion.
Yo, I got cheddar for Gucci sweaters, the biggest body suits of money.
Who's not worthy?
I rock gators and derbies.
The hottest strippers, getting slethers and taking pictures.
Stacking figures.
Always showing love for all my niggas.
Yo, I roll with braids with diamond dozens.
Forest Green,
Mental tinted.
seats recline.
Chromed out SI
100
300.
grand man cruising in my land.
Counting my cheddar.
Buying the hottest shoes, gold jeans and butter
We
leather.
on some smooth shit, yeah, some old smooth shit.
Sit back and relax, spark a L or crack a brew.
To this smooth shit, some good old smooth shit.
You know how we do.
You know how we do. We on some smooth shit, yeah, some old smooth shit.
Just sit back and relax, spark a L or crack a brew.
To this smooth shit, yeah, some old smooth shit.
Word up.
Yeah.
Check it out, yo. First class continental planes, got storms in my brain. Light skin, bad body, cute eyes, push the range.
Yo, I hear your game.
She got a sister.
I know your steez, that Grammy Awards one on
And hit
tour.
the beauties overseas,
Yo,
right?
I ain't the one to brag about my fame.
We got game.
On the real, hope that shorty feels the same.
Them jealous suckers, 5 on 5, let's hit the rockers.
Only plays the mobster.
Benny honest.
Red lobsters, my weak weight section.
Blocks stay hot with protection, CeeLo games they sold.
Rockin' polo.
And Jabos.
Yo, I got that next shit from coke to weed.
Never sold it.
Never hold it.
Get Capone, fly it overseas.
Yo, I dropped Jewel.
Sit bubbly and lamp with Cristal.
Rap stars with cigars.
Living large and fat cars.
AKA
Chad Vocal, Collision, Reggie Caviar.
We on some smooth shit, yeah, some old smooth shit.
Sit back and relax, spark a L or crack a brew.
To this smooth shit, some good old smooth shit.
You know how we do.
You know how we do. We on some smooth shit, yeah, some old smooth shit.
Just sit back and relax, spark a L or crack a brew.
To this smooth shit, yeah, some old smooth shit.
Yeah, you know how we do.
Yes. Yeah. Give y'all a minute to see what just happened. Know what I mean? My nigga Chad Vocal. Collision on the MIC. Hey yo, kick that third verse.
Yo, I bout to release pretty boys and yo, whatever.
Girls give me love, Versace wear.
And Kelly here, nevertheless, I stay fresh and dressed in guess.
Blessed with that strong shit that keeps me manifest.
Yo, Chad, how you feel about that $1 million deal?
Yo, Leaf, how you feel about the $1 million deal?
Broke my ones a mansion, so they know I keep it real.
Yo, I ain't the one to front no enemies.
My pops push a Lexus.
And my mom pushes Affinity.
Stacks of money, living large like caviar.
Yo, I'm bagging chicks, I sell the portables, the source quotables, I keep them open.
Stay focused, never choke.
We on some smooth shit, yeah, some old smooth shit.
Sit back and relax, spark a L or crack a brew.
To this smooth shit, some good old smooth shit.
You know how we do.
You know how we do. We on some smooth shit, yeah, some old smooth shit.
Just sit back and relax, spark a L or crack a brew.
To this smooth shit, yeah, some old smooth shit.
Yeah, you know how we do.
What's up, D-Lo?
What's happening, Grip?
Why don't you help me give much respect and love to all the homies that passed away?
You got that? Rah.
And now my niggas straight gone.
Pronounced dead when he took the motherfucking shot to the dope. And now my partner straight gone.
Pronounced dead when she took a motherfucking shot to the Rest in peace to my dead homie that I grew up with. We used to smoke bud and hang out in the hood and shit. And now my niggas straight gone. I found out when my nigga Little B called me on the phone and think that shit hit me hard, yo. I fell to the floor and started crying for my low flow. Cause that nigga was down for the set, so I got a sack with the
mastered my earth and didn't want her to know where the rest was at. You was offering assistance behind my back, running your mouth like yo. You know he's never gonna change, long as he gets screaming signs in this game. He'll be the same, and as for you, boo, the things I don't think you should go through. Get with the guard and let me show you the way it should be on the strength of me. I treat you like a queen and give you all of my royalties. I couldn't believe the serpents rolling with my squad, so I took it to his face with intentions of dead guard, but I didn't. Instead, the whole thing got squashed, and he kept his fucking neck and the snake slithered off. Then after that, kid, you know what? The shit got worse. I should've gave him his death wish and let him ride in the hearse to his wake. Too late, now I'm facing upstate, cause the nigga turned snitch and gave the layouts to Jake. What a mistake, it was to trust this kid in the first place. To you thugs out there getting cheddar, I think you better check your team members to see who signed the shit list. Cause once they shit on you for a while, you'll be stinking like my done Corey doing this bullet. Must be thinking how we rolled in the side 9,000 to Virginia with a bitch ass nigga that contemplated on his figures. Also responsible for when the heat turned cold and Popo came to the cribbo to seize control of the whole entire motherfucking operation. Cause a puss like him couldn't handle his situation, apprehended by the beast to ensure his release. Turn states gave information where the coke could be reached. Sometimes you can't see clear cause your vision be blurred, and this is when the worst things always seem to occur. The legal tender got your head in the lock. On the block, your ways of getting clean can have you in the pine box. To trust no one is the first rule in this game, not even your man. If his actions are strange, a second chance could be your last chance if you let it. Remember, keep that headpiece focused and don't forget it.
I remember one time back in '89, I used to rock the curly fade and getting paid was on my mind. Resting on Pine Street, the end of the boulevard. My half-brother picked me up in his mother's car. On a quest for the legal tender, we was on a Benz, making mad ends with some money-hungry friends. Hitting the block, selling up mad rocks, getting chased by the cops, but never dead in the pine box. My little brother spent 8 years in the pen. It's like every time he comes out, he goes back in. I try to talk to my brother, tell him he should run with us. He was stuck on these out-of-town kids, giving me fuss, telling me they be my fam, when I couldn't understand. Since we both been fed from the same woman's hair, my blood was his blood, far as that one goes. But no one knows them anyways, this ill nigga flows. My mom's once said it, your family never diss him, cause when you find yourself alone, then you're really gonna miss him. I count my blessings, pay attention to the lessons, write mad rhymes and attend smoke sessions with my peeps from the streets a long time ago, when I was known for the ill show flow. Ain't nothing changed but the weather. I still drop skills cause I'm real, plus my style's mad clever. So all your fake snakes from Boston to Virginia, here be a little something the MVs put up in ya. A dose to the most from coast to coast. Tay Ross reppin' H2O till I'm ghost.
Sometimes you can't see clear cause your vision be blurred, and this is when the worst things always seem to occur. The legal tender got your head in the lock. On the block, your ways of getting clean can have you in the pie box. To trust no one is the first rule in this game, not even your man. If his actions are strange, a second chance could be your last chance if you let it. Remember, keep that headpiece focused and don't forget it.